This is a brilliant story, as always. Some time ago, Bobby Kennedy told us that vaccines weren't even worthy of that name. When Bobby Kennedy's book about Anthony Fauci was the best-selling book in the country, the New York Times just had a blank space that day. Well, here's Bobby Kennedy post on the subject of vaccines and how we shouldn't actually bloody well even use the term. Let's have a look. The ranks of the conspiracy theorists now include the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which just ruled COVID vax mandates unconstitutional because the vaccine does not stop transmission. Now, I'd like to add to that this was the period of public shaming.
They need to be called out and shamed, brother.
Of condemnation, of carnivals, committed carnivals of celebration of those medications, a massive rebranding of Pfizer and Moderna, etc., from organizations that we understood were exploitative, but were a necessary evil. We got to put up with Big Pharma. Damn it, we need the diabetes meds. We'll put up with the opioid crisis and the fact that hundreds of thousands of people died because of what appeared to be, and according to our court settlements, it strongly suggested are nefarious and irresponsible practices, the manipulation of physicians, all of that. Suddenly, we were invited to see Big Pharma as heroes. We granted them legal indemnity. We permitted them to keep their records shut. I mean, the whole thing was pretty crazy. He continues, does Bobby, I don't know, maybe it's the brainworm, but I seem to remember the experts and authorities telling us otherwise. Rachel Walensky, our data from the CDC suggests that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick. Biden said you won't get COVID if you get these vaccinations. My God, even me, a person who spends a lot of time in these spaces, it's still surprising to be reminded that Biden says you won't get COVID if you get these vaccinations. Anthony Fauci, we need people to take it to break the chain of transmission. You want to be a dead end to the virus. Wow, do you remember when he said when people start losing their freedoms, they'll drop their ideological bullshit? Rachel Maddow, now we know that the vaccine works well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
All of that was fake news. All of that was malinformation. All the time that those statements were being publicly conveyed and amplified, you were being censored if you had concerns. If you were a member of the vaccine hesitant, you were condemned. Well, let's look at this story in a little more depth, because it seems that, as is often the case, we were right. So in a contentious case involving the Health Freedom Defense Fund and other plaintiffs versus the Los Angeles Unified School District, the court acknowledged the plaintiffs' claim that the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines do not meet the traditional definition of vaccines because they do not prevent the spread of the virus, but only mitigate symptoms. That's what the campaign should have been, at most. This vaccine might mitigate symptoms. In some cases, it might cause myocarditis, pericarditis, it might cause sudden, there's a lot of things that it might do that we'll get into. The case revolved around LAUSD's or LAUSD's COVID-19 vaccination policy, which required all employees to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 by a specified deadline. The case, brought by the Health Freedom Defense Fund and several individuals, argues that LAUSD's vaccination mandate interferes with their fundamental right to refuse medical treatment. The plaintiffs assert that the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines merely mitigate symptoms rather than prevent infection or transmission, which they claim does not align with the traditional definition of vaccine. Do you remember how many words lost their meaning during that time? Do you remember how often you had to consider the writing of George Orwell that war means peace and peace means war and tyranny means freedom? The court noted that the plaintiffs' claims, taken as true at this stage, suggest that the COVID-19 vaccines do not effectively prevent the spread of COVID-19. This is the problem with independent media when it comes to the establishment's control. We can have conversations in real time that challenge their narratives. They're unable to assert the kind of centralized control that's required for the kind of authoritarianism that they are trying to impose. The court noted the plaintiff's claim, taken as true at this stage, suggests the COVID-19 vaccines do not effectively prevent the spread of COVID-19. The Gateway Pundit previously reported that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, had modified the definition of vaccine to include the mRNA shots. Oh my God, it should always have been known as a It should always been known as medicine. When Naomi Wolf reported on the impact on menstruating women, she was cancelled. Remember how Facebook happily censored true information.
Kind of establishment on that, asked for a bunch of things to be censored that in retrospect ended up being more debatable or true.
In order to comply with edicts that came right down from Fauci. Remember how they tried to control the theories around the emergence of this thing. We can't continue to bring you this beautiful content without the support of our partners. We all have crazy regrets in this life. It may be the acquisition of a crazy pet that's profligate and having too many kittens. That would mean it's necessarily a cat. Or it could be a reckless and ridiculous tattoo. But do not have any further regrets when it comes to matters of nutrition, because Field of Greens could be the key to a good health future for you. It's not like any other green product out there where it's just watered down extracts. With Field of Greens, you get an organic superfood, whole fruits and vegetables selected by not lunatics, not terrorists, not maniacs from the periphery, doctors, legit doctors that care about health. Selecting vegetables and fruits to support your bodily functions, whether that's heart, liver, kidneys, your metabolism, or most importantly, in my view, the immune system. That thing's got to be your own personal army, protecting you from external invaders. Field of Greens is backed by a better health promise. You will notice your health improve, your vitality, your nails, your hair, your shimmering visage improve before your very eyes, because your eyes will improve as well. That's one of the things I'm hoping. Or they're going to give you your money back. Get started by getting 15% off and free shipping by using my code. If you use my code BRAND when you visit brickhouserussell.com, brickhouserussell.com, 2 S's, 2 L's, brickhouserussell.com, and use the promo code BRAND, you too could be fighting against time. You too could be preventing entropy and decay. You too could have glimmering organic systems shimmering with Brickhouse goodness by using Field of Greens. So use the promo code BRAND at brickhouserussell.com. BRAND for 15% off and free shipping. Let's get back to the content. Let's have a look at British politician Nigel Farage. He would be termed a right-wing populist in our country. Let's have a look at him talking on the subject of these vaccines.
We were told, take the vaccine.
I'm still doing it. Don't call it a vaccine. It's very hard, isn't it, to unplug your head from this system.
Vaccine, the so-called vaccine, right? And you won't catch COVID. Take the vaccine and you won't pass COVID on. Both of those things were totally, completely untrue. We were told the vaccine was safe in every way. Frankly, it had not been through anything like the normal testing for any kind of vaccine in terms of trials. And now we learn that the so-called vaccine, do you know there are pensioners now, elderly people on their 7th jab? That is not the kind of vaccine you and I grew up with, where you have a vaccine once and you're inoculated for life. So I do think there needs to be a massive investigation, not just into harms that were caused by the vaccine, and all vaccines cause side effects, and we know that, but there do seem to be an alarming number of people, young men in particular, who've developed myocarditis and other heart conditions. I'm not getting conspiratorial about this, but let's have it out in the open. But I want to know as well why we were lied to. I want to know why they were trying to vaccinate kids of primary school age when COVID posed almost no threat to them whatsoever. And, you know, Boris Johnson and his government put in place an absolutely draconian system, not just of lockdowns, but of £500 million of taxpayers' money spent on newspaper wraparounds, on adverts. Remember, can you look into his eyes? If you don't take the vaccine, you'll kill your grandparents. It all turned out to be completely untrue. This needs a proper, full public inquiry.
I wonder if those inquiries and investigations will ever take place in your country or in mine. We're seeing inquiries that appear to be somewhat diluted and tempered, that don't get into the nitty-gritty of big pharma power, the ability to lobby, the ability to donate and control, the incredible power that organisations like the WHO are able to exert over democratic and sovereign nations. Hopefully this is a time of significant transition. Hopefully this is a time of awakening, because this is perhaps the best shot we have of demonstrating that what we are told by the state, the establishment and the legacy media over time will frequently be proven to be false, frequently and demonstrably appear to be opportunities to impose control and authority. And man, there are some even more nefarious conspiracy theories that are developing around that one. Maybe they are anti-life itself, some people are offering, but me, certainly this story gives us a chance to see how power operates, the errors that they make, and their inability to acknowledge it. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat?
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.